So I had the pleasure of being able to get Sir Chris James to come in here tonight, speak to you guys for a little bit. Now, Chris is one of those gentlemen that I feel very, very humble and honored to be able to be in his presence and one of those 3,000 contacts in his phone that I don't get a response saying, who this new phone when I try to text. But I've known Chris for, geez, quite a while. I think our very first conversation was a year and a half. I think we're almost coming up on 2 years since
Yeah.
our very first conversation. I've known of him for over 3 years, but I've gotten the pleasure to work with Chris for a short period of time. And since then, I've been able to kind of see him shift into his lane of genius and kind of like excel into this leader that he was meant to be and really start to kind of take off in a little bit of a shorter time than a lot of other people that I've seen when given that opportunity. Um, so I was very, very excited when I reached out and said, "Hey, I got a wonderful group of people that show up on Thursdays. Would you mind coming in and chatting for a little bit?" And he said, "Bro, let's do it next Thursday. Set it up." But without further ado, present to you guys, Chris. Chris, how are you?
Man, first and foremost, thanks for inviting me. This is much appreciated. I kid you not, when you reached out, I'm like, there's no if it's a bus about it. I had to be on there and okay, anything I can do for you. And the feeling was mutual. The feeling was mutual. Before I met you, I definitely heard a lot about you as well. And and let's be honest, you hear a lot about a lot of people, right? And at the same time, are they doing the work that they say they're doing? And one, and one thing that when we was working together, I saw that one thing I really admired about you is your dedication to just your craft of what you've done, and also how you really can scale it into a high direction. And I'm like, damn, this is why I'm not a true integrator. Like I'm not a true integrator. I don't the systems, the functionality of things. I'm like, I can't do that. Uh, but you taught me a lot. Just want to share that you definitely taught me a lot. And one thing I'm working on personally is saying thank you more often because I don't say thank you enough. And just want to say thank you for that opportunity because I definitely learned over the years from a lot of different things that you shared, and I'm like, I didn't know. I just didn't know what I didn't know.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words, man.
But absolutely. But thanks for having me, man. And for those who don't know me, my name is Chris James. I don't really come from a real estate background. I come from a hospitality, restaurant industry. I love cooking. I'm very competitive. Guys, if you say, Chris, let's have a cooking competition, I promise you I'll fly out today and meet you
We're
at the
gonna
house.
have one.
We can make it happen.
We're gonna have one.
I love cooking. I was a director of operations for 7 restaurants for almost a decade before COVID hit. 2019, that's when a lot of things changed. Now, do I still have a passion for cooking and I want to open up my own restaurant? Yes. However, when I went into real estate and I was kind of forced, I was really forced into real estate in the right direction, not forced where, hey, Chris, get into real estate or else. All my locations closed down due to COVID. And at that specific time, I could have done what everyone else was doing. And I believe they called it stimulus checks or stimmies or whatever they want to call it. They was receiving when the world shut down. And I personally, when they shut my restaurants down at that time for a limited time, I was collecting unemployment, more so my back was getting almost against the wall. Money was running out and I was counting on those stimulus checks. And when I started to receive those checks, guys, I kid you not, I could have done what everyone else done. They could have spent it on BS in regards to like a bunch of different sneakers, clothes, designer stuff, and all that stuff that everyone do on a daily basis. But I know I use it to invest into real estate. I use it to invest into real estate. At that time, I thought, you know, all these ads and all these YouTube stuff I'm seeing is scams. And you're talking about wholesale, like people making 30, 40, $50,000. And it got to a point where I'm like, let me just see what this scheme looks like. And literally, I used that money to join Clever Investor. And from there, I was surprised what the world had in store. because usually when people hear about real estate, or the first thing you hear about is you're a real estate agent, right? You're always a real estate agent. That's the first go-to thing. And to be quite honest, still to this day, my family think I'm a real estate agent, and I let them think it. When I go to holidays, barbecues, when we go back on vacations and stuff, they always ask me, how how is the real estate agent life going? And I don't waste my breath. I just say it's going well. It's going well. I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm a real estate investor. I do this, this, and this. I just learned to understand when to communicate and articulate myself to make them understand versus when it's not needed. It's going to be a waste of breath because if they already have in their mind, especially if they don't understand your world you're in, it's no point of changing their outlook of things. It's a time and place for everything. But when I got into real estate, started wholesaling aspect. When I first got my first check, guys, I kid you not, I was nervous. I don't know if you ever heard this story. I never shared it. I just recently shared this. I want to say about 6 months ago. My first wholesale check was 5,800 bucks. It took me 6 months to get that deal. Living in New York. At the time I was living in New York, I just recently moved to Florida about 7 months ago. Born and raised in New York, and those who know New York is expensive. It's expensive to live in. Again, I'm unemployed. 6 months without no true income coming in. At the time, I'll be very transparent with you guys. I was only making about $60,000 a month. I mean, I'm sorry, a year. $60,000 a year as my W-2, and I enjoyed that. I'm like, okay, that was consistent. I know it was on salary. I know exactly what it looks like on a yearly basis, but it literally changed from that to unemployment. And I'm struggling, facing obstacles to try to get my first concept or a check. And when I received the 5,800 bucks, I was nervous to cash it. I was nervous to cash it. On the top of it said Bank of America. So I knew in my head I have to go to a Bank of America or cash into my personal checking account, whatever that looks like. At that time, I was just clueless. So I picked up the check from the attorney, went to the bank. It took me a while to even go in the bank because I thought this was fraudulent still. It still didn't process my mind like, okay, this is real, this is legitimate, this is a process where you can really take this and run with it. And I finally got out the car. I was driving a O2 Saturn. I don't even know if they make those anymore, but but it was O2
Oh,
Red
two.
Saturn. O2 Red Saturn.
I had an
And,
oh 05
and
when we
you
started.
could taught me nothing. That was I had the best car out there. I don't care if I pulled up next to a BMW or Mercedes. I had the best one out there. So I get out my car and I open the door. It's around 11:30, 12 o'clock. I walk into the bank and of course I'm like out of all days, it's extremely busy. I'm like seventh in line. I don't know why I'm nervous, why I'm sweating. I have no idea. I'm holding a check. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm forgetting something. And then lit- it gets to a point where in my mind everything is going slow, but they're saying, sir, can I help you, sir, can I help you? I hear that in the back of my mind, and finally I come to the realization they're talking to me. Sir, can I help you? I walk up to the lady and said, sir, can I help you? How was your day? And I said, great. I'm just here to cash a check. I don't know what now. I just want to preface, I've been to the bank many a times. I cashed many checks many, many times. I don't know what took me so long to give her the check. Have no idea. I froze up and then I gave her the check and she said, okay, all right, give me 1 second. So she then looks back up I'm sorry, looks up at back at me. She put the check through the scanner. She goes in the back and then the manager comes out. He said, can I see your ID? I was like, okay, no problem. See my ID. They both go to the back. I'm like, okay, I'm about to run because there's something fishy about this. It's taking a little bit longer than usual. And then after about 3 minutes, that was the longest 3 minutes of my life. They come back from literally the back, open the door, and then the gentleman, the manager said, "Sir, how would you like your funds back?" And I said, the first thing that came to mind, I said, all large. I just wanted to get out of there, all large. I don't just give me the money so I can go kind of thing. And they gave me the money. It was all hundreds, it was 5,800 bucks. I got in the car. I don't know why I drove away so damn quick, guys. I have no idea. I felt like I just robbed the bank. I have no idea like this wholesale thing worked. And the reason I tell you guys the story because when I left that, that was more so a proof of concept. When I at the time I ran back, well, drove back to my apartment and I wanted to do it again. And then I started wholesaling in 2019, 2020, 2020, 2021, and then 2022-ish is when I really feel like wholesaling wasn't for me. It was great. I made a lot of money, you know, 30 checks of 34,000, 44,000. It was great, but I really got into real estate just to own property. I didn't want to just wholesale. Now, is wholesale a bad exit strategy or the acquisition? Not at all. I think it's phenomenal. I literally have best friends who's making seven, eight figures on a monthly basis in wholesaling, and they're killing it. Now, one thing I do want to mention is the fact of the reason I wanted to transition over because I wanted that residual income where I didn't really have to work as much and kind of get off this hamster wheel and a grind, and which led me to more so, business partners. I went through, I want to say, three different business partners, and each business partnership, I learned so much. The first one, I was green. I was green. I didn't know what I didn't know. I felt like I was just an employee. I was just listening. The second one, it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not. Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. What does this really look like? And then are you out? Are they even? This is gonna sound bad, but this is the truth, guys. If you're around people and you feel like you're bringing so much value to the table and it's not being reciprocated, you got to remove yourself and or have a conversation. Have a conversation with an individual and have a professional conversation. Just to say, hey, you're not bringing value. Make sure it makes sense and as far as what you're looking for, and make sure the alignment's there. And then it gets to a point where after business partnership is not them, guys, it's you. You look in the mirror like you. Okay, how can you fix each situation? Was it the communication? Was it your work ethic? Was it the way you're actually doing things? And it just there's so many different factors it can be. But always remember this, and I literally think about this on a daily basis, where everything truly happens for a reason, whether you're ready for it or not. It's going to maybe tough times. It's going to be amazing times. At the same time, you got to realize the fact of when you're in real estate, it's going to be tough. If you're going 2, 3, 4, 5 months of just amazingness, there's a loophole in your business.
Something's wrong. If it
Something
feels like
truly wrong.
nothing's going wrong, something's really wrong.
And I was always told, it's so funny. I think it was, I forgot what mentor told me, and I won't forget it. He always mentions that if you're not in business unless you're being sued or being threatened to be sued. That's how you know you got a lot of things going on. Now, you don't want to be sued. However, that's when you start creating those boundaries. You start creating those things, those lines in the sands that you will only tolerate in your business as you start building that out. This is just like going to McDonald's or Burger King. It's very similar aspects, but they have their boundaries and limitations of what they're going to do. And just fast forward more so, when I started buying properties and I, really started looking into it, it was I really wanted that cash flow of 200 to 300 bucks. That's what everyone wanted at the time. That was like the great race of 200, 300 bucks. And that was everyone's goal because that's what everyone knew about. And so I started acquiring properties. Cash flow was about two, three, maybe 400 bucks. And was it really worth it? No. At the time, I thought so. I thought you couldn't tell me nothing. I got an asset I just bought. I'm making 200 bucks a month on it. I'm going to be set for life. And then I don't know what clicked. I don't know if it was a conversation. I don't know if it's wrong. It just once you start getting into the right rooms and start talking about bigger opportunities, you're going to realize what's worth your time and what's not. And then that's when I realized I have to shift. I have to understand exactly what I want in life, what's going to make me happy, and if I'm coming to these Zooms, am I aggravated? Do I really want to be here? I'm going to going through the motions. What like it's some things you got to really think about. And I found my purpose, and I found exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life, and I took it and ran with it. And because I enjoy it. Like when I get up in the morning, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And every single day it's the same thing. How can I add value to someone else's business? Or how can I add value to anyone I speak to or communicate with? I went to the barber 2 days ago. Young barber, 21 years old. He's got about 64,000 followers. He's doing a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job. And first time I ever been to him, only reason I found it because of social media. It popped up in like for you kind of thing. And don't know who he is, never met him a day in my life. I saw he charges $100 for a haircut. I'm like, well, shit, I have no hair. So what he's charging me for? Like, so that's the first thing that came across my head. But I'm like, let me just something drew me to him where okay, he's created great content. He's outgoing. You know, he's a jokester a little bit. Let me just book that haircut. I booked the haircut 2 days ago. I went there 11:30. It wasn't 11:30. It was 9:30. And I don't know what drew me to him, but when I got in the chair, instantly something told me to start, just asking about things outside of the barbershop. I started a conversation. I said, "Hey man, I see you're doing amazing things on your Instagram, your TikTok, but let me ask you this." I said, "What do you got going on personally?" I said, do you have any other avenues that you're looking at besides being a barber?" You'll never guess the first thing he mentioned. Real estate. He's literally looking for a house right now in real estate, and he always wanted to own Airbnb. So I thought that was like, wow. Now I'm hour into the conversation to find out this guy has about $85,000 just liquid sitting there. So now there's a potential opportunity for a private money partner, a private money lender, depending on how he feel about the deal. He had no idea about what creative finance looked like. He was ready to put 20% down on a house that because he thought he had to go the traditional route. Then he didn't know nothing about subject to. He didn't know nothing about seller finance. He didn't know nothing. He thought he had to go this way because he only knew what he knew. Now, again, I want to preface he's only 21 years old. But at 21 years old, with over 64,000 followers, and you build that over 3 years at 21, that's phenomenal. You got great content. He didn't know nothing. We had an amazing conversation, guys. You probably think, oh, probably thought I was a therapist when I left it. Like, damn, this guy, that's all I want to do is cut his hair.
No, those
But
are the best conversations to have with people, though.
oh, 100%, 100%. We started talking about communities and building communities. I say you got to I say you if you really want to expand, you got to get value. I say pushing out great content, but what are you really giving away for free? And he said, well, I am. And he said, I'm posting videos. They can see my cuts. They, I said, yes, your cuts look nice, but how can you teach somebody else how to do the same thing you're doing? And then that's when he said, well, I never looked at it that way. And he said, I thought, more so, everyone get great energy, as he stated, for the content. I think it's exciting energy. It's very lively, it's outgoing and funny. It drew me in. I said, hell, I'm here today. I said, but how are you really giving value back to everyone? And then he said he don't know. So that was 2 days ago, guys. Today's Thursday, that was Tuesday. I kid you not. Why did I get an invite this morning? No exaggeration. He created a free community and he already got members in there. And I thought I didn't tell hey, make sure you invite me or anything. I just know more so give him advice what he should do to start really giving back. Because at the end of the day, you're only going to I'm just gonna say it like this for better lack of words is you can't be selfish, guys. You can't. In the industry, no matter what industry you're in, whether it's hospitality, real estate, sales, anything, you can't be selfish. You got to constantly provide value, uh, even when you don't want to. Those are the toughest times where you feel like, okay, is this person just reaching out just to get information and leave, or are they ever going to come back to me and request my services? A lot of you guys know I own a transaction coordinator company. I've been doing this since 2021. I have 14 employees. And people always ask, hey, Chris, can I get this? Can I get that? There's got to be a line in the sand. And, when it comes to that stuff, at the same time, you got to think they came to you for a reason. They feel like you have the knowledge. They feel like you can give them the answers. And all of us on here today, I know we all are here for a reason. We're all here for a reason. We all have a purpose. And I know that there's only going to be one James, one Andreas, one Dick, one Dustin, one. I want to know how to. I'm very good at butchering names. I want to know how you say your name. Is it Kamar? Shakar? I'm very good at James. No, I'll butcher your name in a second. Yeah, I'm very good. So,
Shaswat?
chat. There you go. What James said. So it's just only one of us more so, and I just want everyone to know that when you get around people that tell you you can't do something, whether you have a great you, if you think it's a great idea, it's in your head for a reason, guys. It's in your head for a reason. If someone tell you that's a horrible idea, you need to run from them. You need to run away from them. Those are individuals you need to just understand that they don't understand your what's
Mhm.
in your brain, what's how it's being communicated. Now, your idea could potentially may not be a great one. However, it's in your head for a reason, so you can start throwing things at the wall. I did this with James before. James and I, we have a shit ton of ideas that we always talk about. Now, which one sticks? It's the matter of what makes sense for what we're looking for in the business.
Yeah. It, it's also it's ironic that you bring that up. Not only for one, because even when we were working on a collaboration in the past, many times in the meetings was it like a half an hour, 45 minutes of just Chris and James bouncing back and forth and feeding on ideas. But I'm in the middle of reading Mastery by Robert Greene, and I'm gonna have to actually go back and pull the quote because this morning, and it's weird because you had said it, multiple people have said it recently, like the last 2 weeks, is like things happen for a reason, and the fact that you just brought that up and mentioned that, and that was literally the section of the book that I read this morning as he was
Oh,
talking about that, about the ideas in your head and when it comes to other people pulling away from the people that are, shaming or putting down on those ideas that are in your head. So
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
take it
no, no.
away.
No, this is good. It's just more so when it comes to those kind of things, you're going to be surrounded by people, and you just don't know who to trust. In all honesty, you don't know who's just trying to take, and not trying to reciprocate what that looks like. So you gotta choose who you're communicating with on a daily basis. I'm very strict with my circle. I'm protective of my circle, and I love to protect my peace. If I feel like there's any negative energy or bad energy, I just remove myself in a professional way, right? Uh, but the reason I say all this, and I gave you the story of the barber I just went to 2 days ago, because my purpose was just to provide value. I didn't expect him to do anything with that. I didn't expect him to do anything. I just know that I provided the information that was in my mind I thought was be the best fit for what he's looking to do as a barber. Now, do I know what to do as a barber? I have no idea. I have no idea what that looks like. You know, they talk about 1, 2, 4, 5 blades, and I'm like, I'm bald. Just give me a shave, get me out of here, call it a day. So I'm a little bit different. Uh, but just understanding your purpose is first, guys. When you're really your business is going to be all over the place. I'm just going to be honest. There's going to be 100 different ideas. There's going to be so many different things out there that you want to do, but you really got to understand your purpose, and then from there, reverse engineer to understand exactly how you're going to implement what's next in your business. A lot of people think they can do the business alone. You can't do it alone. You need to bring the right people into your business and understand your business, and you as a person who owns the business need to understand your brand and what your vision look like. If you don't have a vision, or if you don't have it on paper or on a computer, then how can you expect your team to perform? How can you expect someone else to come into your business perform? You can't just hire on a hypothetical operations manager and you don't even know what the vision is. How can you expect that operations manager to really execute for you when they have no idea what you're trying to do? Now, whether you need an operations manager or not, we can use an acquisition manager, digital discipline manager, whoever it is in your business. Point being, just ensure that you as a business owner understand exactly where you're trying to take the business before you start outsourcing. The third thing I do want to break up is not just the purpose. is also understanding your strength. You truly got to understand your strength. And my strength personally, I just love talking to people. I really love talking to people, genuinely, just genuine people. Like, don't try to, so I'm doing this. In all honesty, I don't care what you're doing.
I made
I
oh
care less
man,
what you're
I
doing.
some people
I,
here haven't heard that story, but I made that mistake. That very first conversation that I referenced that I had with you. Guys, I've been there. I was that guy to Chris about 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm working on this, I got this going on, I got that going on. Walk away from the conversation. Haley's like, how'd it go? I was like, awkward as hell. Awkward as hell.
Well, yeah, just understanding your strength is going to be key. It's going to be key because if you're trying to do something that you really dislike on a daily basis, you're going to tire yourself off. I mean, really bad. You're not going to get consistent. You're not going to do the thing you really enjoy doing. A lot of people like to do paperwork. A lot of people like to do marketing. A lot of people like to uh, communicate. Maybe their big thing is just communicating and talking to people or whatever that looks like for your strength. You got to figure out what that is. And or if it's an integrator. If you're an integrator, if you don't want to do anything with the visionary part of it, that's fine. Then bring the visionary into it. Now, still, with that being said, don't let the visionary take over your business unless you guys are becoming business partners. Now, are there individuals like I can probably speak for James on this as well, because I know myself, I'm a visionary, but I do have integrator tendencies.
Oh yeah. No, 100%. Honestly, I thought you were at first or the last time we worked together. I was like, yeah, Chris is definitely an integrator, which is ironic because us meeting in our happy places now in both of our businesses, we fill that visionary role. That's
Totally. Yeah,
that's the
it's
crazy
great.
part.
It's great, and guys, there's tests out there you can take, and what I can do is, unless James already probably have it, send it to you guys to see exactly where you fall. You may be more integrated than visionary than you think, and it's up to you to make the final decision what that looks like. Now, when I found my purpose, my strength, and just more so my alignment in life, what I truly wanted to do, I had to switch gears on everything. $200 a month was not working for me. $300 a month was not working for me on an asset. It just was not cutting. Now you probably think like that's good money, Chris. Why wouldn't you want that? That's passive. But when you're bringing in revenue on one property, $5,000 net, $7,000 net, it's a different ball game per month. Last month alone, I can tell you that we netted $34,000. $34,000. The goal, well, not the goal. We actually on target to beat that. By this time next year, we will be at $182,000 net monthly, and that's in past split co-living alone. You're talking about not just buy boxes, but understanding our purpose and alignment. Now, could we get there and with $200 to $400 a month? No, not at all. Not at all. We currently have about 30, we have 37 units active. We have 83 that will be up within the next 30 to 45 days. Six is going live next week. We have 13 in escrow right now, and we're still going. We're not stopping. And these are all co-living assets. And the reason I mention this because I want you guys to understand, like, I don't want you to change your business model, what you're doing. I want you guys to understand the opportunity that's out there. That's all I'm trying to do. Understand the opportunities that are out there. Don't never limit yourself. Now you probably think like you just say you're a transaction coordinator. Yes, I do own a transaction coordinator company. That's why I got 14 employees. I know for a fact there was two closings today that I didn't touch. They got another transaction I saw in the queue that's closing in Alaska. I didn't touch. And this is why you bring the right people. I hired an operations manager. She hired the rest of the individuals. And they're taking care of business on that side. So I can focus on the real estate side and really get what I true because I want to like retire my parents. I bought them a vehicle already. They'd never been in a situation where they can afford another vehicle. I didn't come from wealth. I didn't come like just giving the silver platter. Hey, Chris, here's 100 or here's $150,000 or here's $1 million. I didn't come from none of that. I had to work my way up. It was tough. My back was against the wall many, many times, guys, where I didn't know where my next check was going to come from. Had no idea. No idea. 2022 when I was still wholesaling. Because you got to think about going from $60,000 a year guaranteed, guaranteed. And at the time, I thought that was it, guys. I thought you could not tell me nothing. $60,000, I was the king. I thought I was living a dream, and to find out, damn, these guys are making $60,000 a month, not a year, but a month. And I'm like, Jesus, okay, I'm in the wrong place. And then going into the co-living aspect of things, just the different markets we had to develop a lot of different things. Alignment was first and foremost. I'm sorry, alignment was second. Vision was the first thing. Alignment was second. And then my business partner, Angel Miller, when we really sat down, we spent 7 hours on Zoom. It was on a Saturday. We had to take like 3 15-minute breaks because it was like that. We need to take a second and go through everything because it got to a point where we're like, okay, we have properties everywhere, everywhere. We're in 17 markets currently. Our number one market right now is in Jacksonville, Florida. Second market that we're in is in Texas. Third market we're in North Carolina, Louisiana. I can go down the list. Our Jacksonville market for our passment co-living is a conveyor belt. We do not receive calls. We don't receive anything, just notifications that we receive bookings. And that's how we like it. We put the right resources in place, and you guys, you can do the same thing. And or if you're probably already doing it, you can do it now. Again, I don't want to convince you of co-living. I'm just showing you the opportunities that I was presenting and how I took it and ran with it. There was a lot of information that was provided to us. Of course, you had to learn exactly what some of the nuance were. And when it came to that, and the not just the vision and the alignment, the next thing was just more so understanding is what systems we really need to have in place to really execute this flawlessly.
Now, that was something that I was gonna ask you a little bit about because you had mentioned something, the point before this one, very, very important, where you'd mentioned that you had to bring the vision out of your head onto paper or digital or, on the computer, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when I spoke to you a couple months ago, you had mentioned that you had started going through this process. And then when I spoke to you again just a couple weeks ago, and fortunate enough to be able to have that conversation with you, I saw this fire just light up. Like I was like, "Holy who is this Chris? Like I don't know who this guy is. I don't think I've ever met him before." What was like? What was that difference for you from that conversation months ago, where you're like, "I'm starting to see it, and it's crazy seeing it in front of me," to, "Dude, it's in front of me." And like we're building this thing and we're doing it. Like how did that shift go for you? Like what changes did you start seeing?
I think I was around the right people. I was around the right people, and the alignment was there. Um, the individuals I currently around understand the vision. They understand the process and the operation of what needs to get done. And at that initial time, I just believe I wasn't in the I wasn't around the right people. Let's just say that. I wasn't around the right people, but now that I'm around the right people and understanding exactly what that looks like, and there's this shared vision there. There's a shared vision there versus just, we're going in two different directions. Is okay, this is the vision, this is what we can do. Let's make it happen. And then we also even talked about the what if factors. What if this system, or what if this piece of the system breaks, or what happens, what's going to be a plug and play in this kind of area. And so we created not just systems and SOPs, but we also created literally, I would call it like a broken system. Like if the system breaks here, what's happening? Then we got an arrow going here. Okay, this needs to happen if this breaks, or this one needs to happen if this breaks. And we was very proactive in a lot of different things. Uh, and learning from previous mistakes, because let's be honest, you buy assets and sometimes it's not. That's why I have a podcast, right? The House of Cards. That's literally the reason why I named the podcast The House of Cards, because you just never know what kind of hand you're really going to get dealt. You truly don't know
Yeah.
what kind of hand you're going to get dealt. The house could look immaculate on the pictures from the realtor. even go in and look at it, got amazing videos, and then once you start tearing down walls and putting up walls, like, well, damn, okay. You got unwanted guests. You got, what I mean by unwanted guests, I'm talking about rats and bees inside the house and everything. And those are things you got to be prepared for. So, to answer your question, the biggest change was more so a shared vision, a shared true vision of what the expectation looked like, and understanding exactly the process on
Yeah,
how to get there.
that's because another thing that you brought up is three different partnerships. Dude, the irony in the numbers. I've shared with anybody who's been here in the Zooms up to this point. Like I've attempted to put two other teams together. I've worked for, I worked with other people in two other businesses, and finally we have one that's actually building out the proper way. And one of the things I hit on all the time is everybody's always looking for the unicorn. Look for the unicorn. Look for the unicorn. And I say that it's called a unicorn for a reason because they rarely exist. um, so when you were kind of going through that process and like kind of having that dating phase between people rather than, was it specifically like you were after that person, like that A++ performer, like they had to have XYZ, they had to be doing this and that, or else we weren't going to work together? Or was it more of a dating phase to sit a little bit more into the alignment of where you were going and kind of seeing how that went while you were working with them for a little while?
Um, I lucked up. I definitely, I'm just gonna be honest. I lucked up because Angel Miller, actually, I hired her on the transaction coordinator side as my operations manager 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. I knew exactly what that looks like on the operation side versus what she did for the company on that end spectrum. And yes, we were, I guess, a dating phase for about a month before I was like, okay, you need to become a business partner. This is the vision. What are your thoughts on that? I didn't say, here, you need to choose this. I say, here's the vision of what I think it should look like for, the business. What are your thoughts on this? And then when she started saying, I think this is great. And also, have you ever thought about this, and this? Those are the conversations you need to be having, and your alignment is there. Versus someone say, oh, I don't like this. I don't. Hmm, it's okay. Like, though, you gotta not pick and choose, but you gotta read people as well. One thing I'm very good about is reading people and see exactly, just understanding, like, okay, they really don't care too much about what this vision looks like, and or they're really excited. But for her to pick apart the vision, the 3-page vision I actually sent her, that was shocking to me. Because let's be honest, if I sent something out to like John Doe right now and they reply back in 10 minutes, I know they didn't read everything thoroughly. I know they didn't read everything thoroughly. Angel actually took a few days to respond back to me. And the first thing she mentioned was, have you ever thought about this? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, this is a great opener. This is a great opener. So after after the email exchange going back and forth, on the real estate side, in regards to not just the TC side, we jumped on a Zoom call, and I'm like, okay, this is what it looks. This is, just to recap what it looks like over the next 6 to 12 months. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I changed the I from I to the last part of that conversation to we. Everything was we, letting her know, like, I'm hinting to her, I want you to become a business partner as well. Like, we're going to do this as well. And it got to that point. But usually, if that wasn't the case, it was a very unique situation for me personally. But if I'm green going into it and what I know now, I'll always date first. No if it's buts about it. And because you don't know how someone's going to react when things go wrong. You don't know how people are going to act when things go right. If things are going right for a year, you really don't truly know how someone's going to react when, they're in heated arguments, having disagreements. Can they be at a business table with 4 or 5 different attorneys? How are you going to handle yourself? Are you going to be professional? Or are you going to act like an asshole? So it's a lot of different things you want to take in consideration of more so your business partner. Can that individual handle itself when he or she is not in the room? hypothetical, if Tim and I are business partners and we're business partners and Tim has a meeting he's going to, I should put and I can't make it, I should put all my confidence in the world to ensure that Tim is going to make sure that meeting is taken care of. Now, if I have any doubt in my mind, Tim and I should not be business partners. Let alone Tim and I should be going to that meeting together, if that's the case. Maybe Tim is uncomfortable having a conversation in front of an attorney. I'm just fortunate enough to been in many court cases, and I want to Larry have every last one of them. Not say I want to be in court. It's just I've been in a lot of court cases, and it's been a learning curve for everyone more so. It just I'm using that as an example because when you're looking for your partner, you gotta see how he or she represents you when you're not around, and you have any gut feeling or any kind of insinuation that they're some kind of negativity with your business partner or coming from your business partner, you have to separate. You always got to trust your gut, guys. And thanks for bringing that up, James. Yeah, that's a valid point
Oh,
there.
no, no worries. Um, yeah, I guess the other, I love asking questions, you know.
No,
uh,
you're good.
with the trajectory of the way that everything's gone, like from the beginning to the point that you're at now. Um, Now, I know you've had a couple things that were quick success, and I know a lot of people are always looking for the quick success, and they're always looking for the shortcut. And there's a lot of things like even within the systems or the lack thereof that are always overlooked. And I've definitely had conversations with a lot of people that don't have any systems in place at all and
Mhm.
are trying to go quick and go hard and go fast. What would be, knowing everything that you know now, your best advice, like in regards to that, when it comes to that, once you have the vision, you know, you've got the clarity, you're already starting to put the people in place, you know, what would be your best advice for systems and speed? Like how long that might actually take for you to really start seeing the success that you're looking for when you're dreaming big?
So there's a two-part answer to this. The first part, I want to say when you're dreaming big, guys, if you want to make more money, go after bigger problems. Always go after bigger problems. If you're comfortable making $2,000 a month, so be it. I'm not. You know, I'm just like I'm not. You get to a point where your lifestyle changes just a little bit, your income or your insurance, whatever that's needed. Like again, I just moved to Florida. I had two times my initial expenses. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, if you want to make more money, go after bigger problems. My second piece of advice is if you want to implement something and you truly don't know how to, and you know it's a great idea, find somebody who knows how to do it and bring them on board or get them compensated in some kind of fashion. Because there's a lot of people that would just say, okay, I'm gonna take about 3 to 4 weeks to try to implement something. Because I tried to do it. I'm like, I'll just do it my damn self. I don't got time for this. I'm just gonna do it myself. But in all honesty, it took me about 5 to 6 weeks, no exaggeration here, where I know for a fact if I would have brung somebody into my business, shared the vision, and or maybe it's per diem, whatever that looks like, they probably would have got it done that same week or that same day. There's a lot of intricacies when it comes to like integration that needs to be ran like a conveyor belt. No ifs or buts about it. I panic when my go will go down. I kid you not. Like when I go down, I'm like, oh damn. Like I'm literally about to text somebody like, hey, this went down. What can I do? Kind of thing. And because I'm ready to jump in it versus I know that's not my expertise. So uh when it comes to that more so, you just gotta have the right people in place. So I hope that answers your question, but it just when you mentioned that, I'm like, there's so many different ways I can go about it, but the two different things, I just don't ever let no one limit your mind. Don't ever let no one tell you that you can't do it. And if you have an idea, guys, stick with it. Stick with You have that idea for a reason. There's a reason that we're all having visions about, these nice places or these nice restaurants or the things that we really want. Now it's the next opportunity just for you to go get it. That's all you have to do.
100%. Have that vision, gain that clarity, start putting the people in the place, and start getting the systems and those processes set, so that way there you're not going back to do it 3 years later with a 2005 or a 2007 Saturn Ion.
Yeah, that's
In
very
2025.
very very interesting. And guys, I know everyone's in here in different aspects in their business, whether they're doing co-living, wholesaling, buy and hold. Everyone's doing different things, right? And I just want to preference that if you're not dibbling into co-living, it is the future. It's affordable housing. Now, if you're in multifamily, that's phenomenal. If you're in, if you truly want to just wholesale, do it. Now, if you're just wholesaling, I will, if I was you, I just know me personally, I'll build that business where it's running by yourself. Run it by itself, and then like just try to take 1 or 2 days away from that business to see what it looks like. I did it for the TC, like Angel. So Angel knows me now, but at the time she didn't know I was testing her. I would intentionally disappear. I'm in all the email communications. I'm in everything. I'm in literally all the email communications just to see how she would handle obstacles. Now if it got too tough or anything like that, I would definitely jump in. But I disappeared intentionally just to see how I operate. And there were some obstacles. There was some obstacles. I'm like, okay, how is Angel going to handle this? How is she going to handle this? Is she going to be resourceful or is she going to text me right away? Hey, Chris, this question came about. And she's 100% resourceful. If you actually, look it up or reach out to someone or like, let's be honest, if you're dealing with title companies, if the title company doesn't know it, I promise you there's someone else in that field that know the answer. Now, it may be a little bit different because you're talking about UCC liens and all that good stuff, judgments and all that stuff when it comes to like title companies, but it's a little bit different. But I'm just giving you an example because you have to see how the business is going to run. And then those 3 days when I took off and I came back, I literally came back to the meeting like I was there the entire time. I said, "All right, so what's on the agenda today?" I didn't say how things went because I wanted to see was she really struggling, was she stressed out, and how she was going to react to that meeting with me coming back. And she said, actually, things went fine there. We did face some hiccups. It's been resolved. We actually scheduled to close this date, and this date, and that was all. That's all she told me. That's how I knew she was a perfect opportunity. I knew I could step away from the business because there was so many questions being thrown at her. Because usually thrown at me. I was always thrown at me as the owner of the company, CEO, about what to do with this and what happens with this, or this title company just asked for this. Where do we find this? Versus all the questions coming to me, all the employees went to her as the operations manager, and she handled it flawlessly. Then I told her a week later, I said, I did that intentionally. I would never do that, and leave you high and dry, just all that stuff. She said, why?
Psych.
She said, I just
Psych.
figured something was
I
kind
just
of
booked.
kind of weird. You never do that. And then that's when I told her, that's fine. And then
You
literally,
told her you booked a month cruise for the next week.
well, it wasn't, it
I just
wasn't,
to
it
give you a
wasn't
taste before I
next week.
took
It
a
was
month
two
off.
months later. It was literally 2 months later I booked the cruise. That's not,
I'm kidding. I'm
I,
kidding.
no, I did book the cruise. It was 2 months later I went on the cruise. I was gone. I went
Oh,
to the,
really? Was it that time?
that was that time, 100%.
Oh, dude, I
Yeah.
was just being sarcastic, but look how that
100%. I
worked
went on the
out.
cruise. Went to DR and yeah, I went to DR. We had a great time and that's how I knew. I'm like, okay, this is running by itself. Let me focus on this. I know, and that's where you have something going when you got that conveyor belt and got the right people and shifted over to co-living. When I got into the co-living aspect, guys, co-living was a game changer. It was a game changer, and it still is a game changer. And you know, um, I there's so many different things I want to speak about right now, as far as what's currently happening with the past, but co-living in our world right now, and it's amazing. I could not be any more happier. And we're always looking for opportunities to partner with people. We're always looking for opportunities just to see everyone, be successful and share the vulnerable information. And what I mean by that, sometimes people don't share the obstacles or the losses or the behind the scenes stuff. And then I think that's where the true value comes from, because you don't want no one to make the same mistakes you just made. You don't want that, and that's one thing I really focus on a literally a daily and a weekly basis. When people say, like, should I go this direction? Like, no, I don't think you should, because this just happened. And we actually facing eviction right now. We literally got an attorney. We just had a meeting with 2 days ago with eviction over in South Texas right now with some of the tenants, and that passed, but that's actually a 9 unit. And literally a week later, as we were about to go live, squatters moved in. Crazy,
Oof.
crazy. And the to find out after so many emails back and forth, these squatters are professionals. They put the utilities in their name. They they literally had mail going to the house already pre-done. Because when the sheriff showed up and then the sheriff said, who's the owner for the property, and the property manager at the time was at the property and called me on FaceTime and said, "Hey, Sheriff White want to talk to you." I'm like, "Why the hell is the sheriff there?" Like I had no idea. Like, why is the sheriff there? Why? And my person in my head, like, why are you calling me? And why are you not taking care of it? And the property management company knows not to give us a call unless it's a true emergency. They know what our expectations is. We spent many hours on Zoom, so they know what that looks like. So when he FaceTimed me and when Johnny FaceTimed me, I was like, something's off. Something's off. And then he said, "Sheriff, I want to talk to you, and they need proof that you actually own this property." I'm like, "Oh," I said, "Why?" And then that's when the sheriff took the phone, and I'm like, "Oh, this is serious. You got a badge and everything."
I was actually there.
Right.
That was the day Chris learned to never buy in a blue state. No, I'm just
There
kidding.
you go. So that was an interesting thing where the tenant, or the squatters, I should say, said they've been living there for quite a while. They drew up their own document lease saying they were leasing it to. They looked up on
Nice.
public records, and put our name on there, our company name on there. So yeah, we're dealing with that right now, and that one was a 9 unit. That's supposed to go live, and it was that's a very interesting one. So these are obstacles, and one thing we learned from that specific one was ensuring that before we even put the contractors out there, cameras go on building first, period. No matter how many properties we have, cameras going on the units. And once we did, because we did offer all our Jacksonville, all our Louisiana properties, all our North Carolina, all our tech, well, now all our Texas, besides the one that don't, have the squatters. So we ensured that cameras was set. I think we spent about, no exaggeration, maybe like 33 grand, maybe 3,500 on cameras to make sure we had it on there. So anytime, like the three that we have, all the units actually we have in escrow, we already ordered the cameras for it to be shipped out to the property managers. So they already know specifically, like, okay, when we close on the property, that's the first thing they know. They know about what's going on, and we're extremely transparent for us everything when it comes to uh the asset itself. So guys, when you do buy an asset, just remember there's always a chance that squatters can take it over. Unfortunately, these are very strategic creative financing individuals.
Wholesalers too. That's a good one for wholesalers to know too. The very first property that Haley and I put under contract, we had that issue with.
Mm,
Um, it was way up northern Maine, and we locked it up. And now the lady, the owner, she was there. Was it the week before we locked it up? So when we went to send somebody out to go take a look at it, she ended up going back up as well. We found out that there were squatters there, and it was a whole ordeal and a whole issue that hung that contract up for quite a while.
yeah, you gotta protect your asset, and especially when uh we were so close. On that one alone for that night, or we was gonna net literally $4,500 on that one. And now that's in pause, and probably for the next couple months it's gonna be a pause, which is already prepared for. And we have lenders. We have lenders on all our properties. 99% of our properties, actually no, 100%. because we actually did a bridge loan on our luxury flip along with a little bit of a Morby method kind of situation. Uh, we have lenders on all our properties. At the end of the day, we want to make sure our lenders are taken care of. And if the lenders are not taken care of and or they feel like something's going wrong, that could jeopardize your name. That could jeopardize your name. And luckily the lenders that we have, we was very extremely transparent. Like, hey, just to let you know, there's squatters in here. Here's all the information. Here's the documents. Here's the sheriff information. If you want to give them a call, because we have to be transparent. You got to be
Yeah.
transparent, guys. You can't hide nothing from your lenders. If you don't, if you, it's great to have a deal, but if you don't have the capital, it's another thing. And
Yeah.
that's how I
If you're
actually.
using, sorry, finish
No,
up.
no, you're good. I was say that's literally how I bought all our properties. Is more not a uh single penny. I think raised $5.4 million in 11 months. 11 months. $5.4 million in 11 months. And it was a crazy ride. It's a crazy ride. It's a crazy ride. I'm like, damn, we just raised that much in how long? I'm like, Jesus. And that's what actually, yeah, 11 months. That's where we got 63 doors or 67 doors. And then from there, took it, ran with them like, okay, this is working. Now we gotta ensure that you're taken care of. And luckily this lender that it came from like a 401k, so they can't really technically utilize as personal, whereas some lenders really counted that money. So she was definitely understanding, and she said she's actually excited to see this through because she never been through this stuff and she wants to know how to handle it. And she said, do you need me to go down to the property and fly down there? I said, no, 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 it's fine, because she's in Ohio and the property's in Texas. She said, I'll do whatever you want me to do. I said, no, 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 you already lend us about $85,000 on this project. We I appreciate
Don't
it.
spend any more. Just say that.
Right.
See, most people get yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people that are afraid of that.
Yeah.
Raising capital and utilizing other people's capital to even get into deals. And that's a tough lesson that we learned,
Mhm.
even with our duplex, was how important transparency and communication is when you have those lenders.
Yeah.
Um, because say wholesalers, when you're wholesaling, like you don't count the deal done until you have check in hand. Like
Yeah.
it's not done until checks in hand. So
Oh
many
yeah.
things can go wrong. But as a buyer, like it's the same scenario, you
Yeah.
know. And I can't wait. I'm gonna reach out to you and talk to you about coming on House of Cards for an episode, so I could talk
Oh,
about this whole
absolutely.
situation with
100%.
the Cleveland property.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how many the stories, not stories, just more so things we actually encounter. And I've been jotting down every last one of them because I kid you not, I would not want anyone to go through that. We lost lots of money. We lost even like contractors disappearing on us. New Orleans 2020 was last year, 2024, beginning of 2024. It was actually, what do they call that big thing they have every year? Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras. One of our contractors, we sent 60, no, I'm sorry, it was like $53,000. We sent $53,000 and never heard from the contractor again. Never heard
Oof.
from the contractor again. Crazy, right?
Oh yeah, and there was another one, if I remember, that had happened with as well with the contract. It that the toughest lesson to learn is finding good contractors.
It is.
Above all else, I would just say that's going to be very important if you want to buy properties. Make sure you're already reaching out to contractors before you start buying.
Yeah, make sure you vetting, get some references. One thing I do, I know people call me an asshole, and I'm okay to accept that because I'm not losing any more money. So, my entire process and SOPs that was put in place after, they ran off with the money was $53,000. And, we're trying text demand letters, business numbers. Like we did a lot of different skip tracing and to find them, we just couldn't find them. And now our vetting process, we have a checklist. And if they don't check off all these boxes, if they miss one box, we do not move forward, period, with them at all. And it's I could probably go down the list. It's so funny because it's about 25 items. And like, why would a property manager need to know this? Or why would the property manager need to have this? Or why would a contractor need to have this? And all these different things, right? And it's there for a reason. is there for a reason. And one thing we failed to do is really vet that individual the way we vet people now. Like our contractors, like first of the property that we have in escrow, actually we closed on two properties last week. One was on 8th Street that yeah, one was on 8th Street. And in all honesty, that came from the contractor and the property management company over in Jacksonville. They said, "Hey, Chris Angel, this is what we're going to need. This is what it looks like." And always trust but verify, right? We always trust but verify. Now, they know our buy box. They know exactly what we're looking for. They know our expectations of how the house needs to look. That was the first time I accepted a deal from somebody and put it in escrow without underwriting. He's managing about 22 of our units right now. He knows what it looks like. He knows what our criteria. He actually came on a couple of our podcasts, explaining it. So he knows exactly what we're looking for. Now, I think I don't know what maybe do it like the week of, or maybe I think it was a week of, or maybe a couple of days prior before closing. I'm like, oh, let me just plug this into our underwriting calculator for a pass with, and that itself is very in depth. We learned it's huge. It's so damn long. You're probably thinking why you have all these numbers, but it's a plug and play kind of system. That was built out very strategically as well. We actually got 5 different tiers when doing that. So I started to plug and play on the calculator, and I'm like, damn, we got a huge spread here. Warren was right. He's our property manager, property manager, and Carlo is actually the construction team. I'm like, damn, I said, we actually looking at a 29% cash and cash return, and we should be netting literally about 2,200 bucks. Now, this is a smaller house, but that's fine. All we had to bring to the table, I think that was like $35,000. And he even said that he would they gave us like a significant discount because we're bringing so much bit volume to them. They ensure that the construction was taken care of. There was no cash to the seller. We just took over their mortgage subject to. There was a $15,000 wholesale fee that went 5,000 went to Warren, who the property management company, and then 10,000 went to uh, technically the whole wholesaler. Warren's like the middleman. He knew what we are looking for, kind of thing. But the reason I mentioned all this because a lot of times you're just someone said, "Oh, this is an amazing deal. This is a lifetime deal. You can't miss on this opportunity." And a lot of times the deals are bullshit. But in all reality, it's just the fact that you always trust and verify. But that was the first time I ever did that, and then I went back to verify, and it was correct. Now, could I have been that guy and looked at the numbers and like, "Oh, no, 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 this doesn't work." 100%. Now, if the numbers didn't work out, I wouldn't cancel the deal, but I would have went back to Warren and Carlo and had a conversation. Hey, I know you guys are looking for $15,000. We need to come down on this in order to make this work. I finally looked at the numbers and all this other stuff. And I know for a fact they would have been okay with that. I'm never trying to nickel and dime somebody. We paid people $30,000 assignments, $50,000. I think the highest one we paid was I think it was like 75. It was a larger one. It was $75,000. We don't care what the assignment looks like, as long as the margin's there. But I just want to preface, we're not going to force any deal. We're not going to force it. If it's not a good fit, we're going to turn it away. We're not going to move forward. But I just wanted to let you guys know, like when just trust and verify. Always trust and verify. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And yeah, we have a SOP in place and a system in place for everything from how to utilize the calculator, formulas, everything. It was just we had to nail it down in order to scale in the right direction. And I know we're hiring right now. Uh, we're hiring. We're looking for like an asset manager. We're looking for a lot of different things. We're scaling in the right direction where we know we're going to make this into a 6, 7, figure business easily, and we wanted to have different components. You probably think like, what do you mean by that? Like you just say you're only doing co-living. No, I'm not only doing co-living. I have STRs. I do have midterm rentals currently have in Kentucky right now. STRs in Tampa, but the overall vision for what I'm looking for, I know I shared this with James as well, and there's a lot of different things I'm going to dip and dab into, and I know for a fact I will have by the end of 2026 7 operating companies, minimum 6 to 7 figures, minimum. Now, 2 of them are already on track. Two of them are actually one of them is already there. That's already there. That's there. The other two is on track. It's just more so when I mean by components, guys, I mean like different acquisitions, whether that's wholesaling, buy and hold, e-commerce, maybe. I don't know. Everyone has a different thing vision out there. So there's a lot of the reason I shared it to guys. I don't want you to put yourself in a box thinking like you can't do all this stuff. Just start with one and you'll eventually get there. You'll
Yep.
definitely eventually get there.
And
That's what I had to do.
it's interesting too because you know it's kind of like that. You know, when people align, they just align. Like you don't have to talk about it all the time. And I talk about verticals quite often, and that's basically what you've done with many of the businesses that you have, and what you some of the big things that you plan on doing end up basically being verticals of one core business that you have. Now, the interesting thing about multiple businesses is how different would you say it is putting the structure together for each one of those business? Because like not all of them are buy and hold,
Right.
but how? Sorry, trying to articulate the question the right way, but how difficult was it putting together a process or your systems for one business, even though it was different from the core business that you had just put together?
Um, in all honesty, it should become a little bit easier because you can kind of replicate it into a different funnel. Because let's be honest, 'cause if you whether you're doing buy and hold, you just say you get that to a seven-figure business, right? Just say that could be a business itself, and then you want to start wholesaling. Take a step back and look at what processes are in place that's working that you can kind of pull over and put into the wholesaling aspect. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have cold callers. You're going to, depending if you're using organic marketing or paid marketing. So there's a lot of different things you want to look at. But in all honesty, they all can kind of kind of tremble over each
It
other.
was a it
You
was a
thought about
trip
that?
you up question, dude. I did that on
Yeah.
purpose. It's so my point being with that for everybody, you know, that's in here, when it comes to building out your business, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter if you're buy and hold. Doesn't matter if you're doing a TC company. Doesn't matter if you're wholesaling. Uh, I mean, it doesn't matter if you decide that you want to go out and do an OnlyFans. I don't know. It the
Heard
foundation
they make
is
money there.
probably the beard. Come on, no, but the foundation, it's very it's the same. Like it
100%.
doesn't matter what you do, the foundation is the same.
Yeah. 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 That's yeah. You once you have the foundation, it just everything will start clicking in. Everyone always says, and that's 100% true. Once you make your first $1 million, the second one will come very easy. Very easy. It'll come right around the corner. And it just becomes second nature to you. Like, okay, like $1 million. Okay, great. $2 million. Are you really satisfied? Then you start making 5, 10, 15, 20. Then you get up to billion range. And I get it. I totally get it. Being like when I first went to Cody Sperber, my first mentorship, I know I told this story a couple weeks ago on another podcast, but when I went to Cody Sperber, I was broke. I had a
Is
negative,
it the dinner story?
yes, I had a
Yes.
negative $386 in my account. Negative. But I made it to Phoenix, Arizona. I made it to the mentorship. It was a private dinner with Cody Sperber, Cole Haddock, John Glut. He's actually from New York as well. He's like eight-figure business owner, and it was like nine of us at the table. Different kind of conversation, guys. I kid you not, you're not gossiping, you're not talking about, drama, you're not talking about anything like that. They're talking about how to make money and what's the next opportunity and how we can do it right now. And in my head, like, damn, I can't contribute. I got negative $386 in my account. I barely made it here on this flight. And how I can't even be in this conversation. And, but as I'm just sitting there in this nice ass restaurant, it was a beautiful restaurant. We was actually on the patio. He reserved the patio for us. And I remember Cody Sperber saying, I remember him saying, order anything you want. In my head, like, okay, maybe. He's going to pay for it. I don't know. Like I really, in all honesty, can't really order anything. So I'm like trying to read the room. Like, okay, they're here as well. They're ordering food, but are they paying for it? Like, I just in my head, like at that time, this is back in 2020. Um, I was nervous. I was the type of individual always I was afraid to ask for help. I was always afraid to ask for anything. I was afraid to be vulnerable. We didn't talk about money in our household. We couldn't talk about, how much you're making or anything like that. I never knew what my dad or my mom was making. I never knew. I just knew they were doing the best they can do at the time to support myself and my twin and my older sister. That is it. But when I was at this table and hear this conversation about, purchasing these assets at $1 million ranges, and just talking nonchalantly. I'm like, oh my God, I'm that. I think I'm at the right table, but I think I just, there's a lot of different things that was going through my head. And then I don't know why the entire time was there for about an hour and a half. We're talking about the other opportunities, and they're going around the horn. I'm like, shit. He's about to come to me. He's like, Chris, what are you doing now? What you got going on, kind of thing. And I'm like, in my head, like, I don't got nothing going on. So at that time, when it came to me, and then Cody said, hey man, hey Chris, thanks for coming out. What do you got going on in your business? And I said, in all honesty, I don't have a business. He said, okay, well, what are you trying to do? You're here for a reason. And I said, I want to be a wholesaler. And at that time, I was just saying anything just to get it out, so we can move on to the next person. Like, leave me alone. Like, so but Cody would not lift. He would not let go. He would not let go. So we started having a more in depth conversation, and then the food started coming out. Then dessert came out. I'm like, okay, ooh, perfect. We're gonna change topics and moving on to someone else, and it did. We moved to someone else, and then finally, after all said and done, though I don't know why this is a wake up call for me, but when the check came, Cody spurt like the check came, it was set in front of. Let me just paint the picture. So Cody is at the head of the table. There's four on this side. There's four on the opposite side. And oh, Brent Daniels is there. I'm sorry, Brent Daniels is there. He was actually at the other side of the head of the table. Um, and I'm sitting next to Brent Daniel, John Lucas next to me, and then another individual from Miami was across from me. And the check came, and it was placed in front of Brent Daniels. And then the check, he didn't even open it. He said, "Nope, it's actually on that guy down there." He flew the thing. He like swung it down there. That's the relationship they have. He flew the check down there. Cody didn't even look at the check. He just pulled out his card, gave it to the waiter. I'm like, damn, how can I do that without even looking at it? Without even looking at it. Now I know that we're in a fancy restaurant. I can imagine what the dollar amount. Still to this day, don't know what the dollar amount is, but I know what I had.
You don't lie, you did the math.
I tried to, but I
You
wanted to know the
heard the
exact
math.
number. So when he did that, I'm like, Jesus, damn. I'm glad I'm here. And I kid you not, when I left, went back to the hotel, and we were leaving because that was the last night before the little mini mastermind was over with. I went back to the hotel. I knew for a fact I was not going to hang out with the same people at home. Who's When I go to the tables, all they doing is talking shit about other people. All they're doing is, oh, did you see this, or why did that person do that, or why, oh, did you see somebody's new car? Like, what? No, no, no. I need to be at this table. They're talking about millions of dollars, millions of dollars. There was no single conversation, statement, or comment about any kind of drama or gossip at all, guys. And it was crazy how numbers was being exchanged at the table, how things are like, okay, let me know if you need this, call me when you get back home. We'll definitely want to go through this and run through this with you. I'm like, oh my God, like this is actually where I need to be. These are conversations these are rooms I need to be around, period. And
Yep.
when I went back home, a lot of people thought, oh, I'm acting brand new, as people actually stated to me. I'm acting different. Um, and I was okay at the time to accept that because I would not be where I'm at today. I wouldn't.
You are a prime example of that in my humble opinion.
Appreciate it, man.
Out of the entire time that I've known you, I don't think I've ever heard you bring somebody up just to bring somebody up. And I don't think I've ever heard a bad thing out of your mouth about anybody. I shouldn't say I don't think I know. Because like I've never heard like a bad thing about anybody come out of your mouth. And there have been times where like I've almost expected it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, man, I'm gonna be having a conversation. I wonder what I'm gonna hear about this. Not even a goddamn peep. It was just business as usual. Let's talk about the future that's ahead.
Yeah,
Here, these goals, those are those goals. This is where I can see things align. I was like, all right, damn, yeah, like let's do it. Let's get it done.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man. If you guys, you gotta get in the right rooms, man. I learned that the hard way, and I'm like, I was that person. I'm an introvert, guys. I'm an introvert. I'm really not. I don't really like being out there as much, but I know I will. I will do it if I need to, whatever that looks like. I was the guy that I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be around the people at my day and age, I don't care to fit in. I don't care, as long as I'm living my truth and what I know is right. And I just don't have time for the drama. I don't have time for the negativity. Now, there's going to be things. Let me just preface. There's going to be obstacles you face within your business that need to be discussed. That's different. That's very
Yeah.
different. Uh, but let's let's be very truthful here. All of us, we don't know how long we have left to live, right? On this earth. So why are we spending like an hour talking about drama or negativity or all that other stuff that's unnecessary? That's not pushing the ball forward. So I just left that in behind. My family members, I wouldn't say I lost some family members in regards to the relationship I have. It's just more so I distance myself because the families could be the worst versus their friends. They drag you right back in. And but
Yeah.
no, I try. I actually not try. I know I done what I needed to do. My brother and I we were extremely close. Even my sister, extremely close. We used to talk on a daily basis, and I used to be part of the drama and part of the gossip and part of the shit starter kind of thing. And I left that back in 2020. I left it because it wasn't me no more. It wasn't me. I grew up. Like I'm not gonna say I'm coming with you, I'm coming to you guys with transparency because I can't tell you guys that I never participated in it because I definitely did. I was all about it. I couldn't wait to get off work and like, oh my God, look what John Doe did today. Like, look at this shit. But it no
Look, I
longer.
took a picture.
Yeah, right, right. So yeah, just wanted to preface with that. But no, I appreciate. I know we're over time, so I do apologize about that, man.
Oh, that
But
that's okay. Like for those of you that are newer, I do see a lot of new faces today. I do try to stick to tactical with 45 minutes to an hour. And then on these Thursday night Zooms, I start to transition to what I call after hours, where nobody is obligated to hang around. But those that do hang around, typically we do end up having a lot of conversations revolving around life, business, real estate, maybe somebody's having something going on mindset and we're able to discuss that as a group and just wanted to create and foster that area, exactly like Chris was talking about, no negativity, just be able to have empowered conversations to end everybody's evening. um, so you're good, brother. You're
oh,
good.
no, I
You
appreciate. No, I
started
appreciate.
touching on
No,
some really good stuff.
no, I appreciate it. No, I appreciate you having me on, and just looking at some of the comments here, and then thank you guys. I appreciate that. I just now pulled it up and see it, so I do apologize I didn't see some of them coming in, but I'm always here, guys. You can always reach out to, you got a great community, James. I know that you guys are killing it. I know that for a fact. So there's no doubt in my mind. All the resources are there. No. But if you ever get to a point where you do want to reach out to me, guys, you can always reach out to me via Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, and or I think 90% of people have my phone number. So I'm not
they,
sure.
they might be in that 3,000,
That is a possibility. That is a strong one. That is a strong one. But more, no, you can always reach out. I'm always here to be a resource. And if you're ever feeling stuck, I'm here as well, because at the end of the day, I've been there, especially again, I didn't come from just, hey, here's $1 million, go do what you want to do with it. I had to work my way up. And I don't regret anything in life. I truly don't regret anything in life. I know everything happens for a reason. I know my struggle is my struggle, and where I'm at today because of what my struggle. So I'm proud to say that. I'm proud to say that. Back then, you would never hear nothing from me. You would never hear any kind of vulnerability. Like, oh, I'm like, oh, everything's great. I'm like, no, everything is shit. We got squatters over here. We got this going on. Like, but no, it's
Guys, you'll
really
never
personal.
guess what I learned today.
But
No,
right.
it's amazing, and it's amazing to be able to have you come in because, like I said, everything that I've spoken about, I've been doing these Zooms since I believe it was January that I started picking this back up again. Kind of went on a almost year hiatus, and I rebranded everything that I was doing. And out of all of the people that I could think of, to ask to come in to speak to everybody here, you're one of the very few that I know, especially within proximity. Um, Again, lucky enough to even be able to get your time and to get responses. Dude, you're such a busy guy. Not only real estate and the other businesses, but you know, a wonderful father to your kid. Um, you're doing everything to make sure that he's taken care of, and you're spending that time with him. But the last couple months, from what I've seen from you, like you really have embodied everything that I talk about with these Zooms. And I've just been able to watch like that proof of concept of how quickly it can start to take you where you want to be when you really kind of hunker down, get this on paper and really actually start taking action, intentional action on the processes and on the systems that you're setting up for yourself.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing that because um sometimes I forget to just sit back and I try to reflect on a weekly basis. And one thing you just brought up is more so where I'm at now versus a couple months ago. And I'm always very good at reflecting, but sometimes you got to reflect not just on a day and a week, but you do got to reflect on where you were a year from now, 6 months from then, and all those different things. And I appreciate you sharing that because yeah, I feel like I'm in my element. I kid you not, I feel like I'm really in my element. Even with a lot of different things. Like last night, I have had a podcast with actually the account executives of Passplit and actually have a meeting tomorrow with the owner of Passplit. So it's just a lot of different things that's happening that I know for a fact would not happen if I was not if some of the opportunities didn't present herself. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. So I'm very blessed and thankful on a daily basis. One thing I always tell everyone, always stay humble. Always stay humble because at the end of the day, how quickly you receive it, you can quickly get it taken away. So just to constantly stay humble. And I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for just making me actually realize, like, damn, okay, I need to go back 3 months, not just a week, and all that good.
Dude, yeah,
Al-
go back
Always,
that couple months and give yourself that pat on the back, man. Like really like, celebrate that.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, because I'm so caught up, like literally, like on meetings and meetings and meetings, right? And then I'm very good. Every weekend always pick two meetings for the week. I go back and actually look at the video. I'm in my meeting notes and see exactly, okay, how can I change or how can I communicate this better next time or did I articulate myself? Did the room actually understand this? And there's a lot of different things I do on a weekly basis. And I just recently started taking well, actually, I think you already know this about it's going on like 5 or 6 months public speaking courses and communication course and then tonality and all that good stuff. And that's something personally I'm working on, right? I don't like, in all honesty, talking in front of public crowds. Like, have I done it before? Have I put on large events and had people come out to masterminds? 100%. But I'm an introvert all day. I'm a homebody. I'd rather go out there watch Netflix, guys. I'm just gonna be honest. Like,
Dude,
now, no, do I like to have a great time, go out and explore things and all that good stuff, hiking and camping? Yes, 100%. But I'm truly an introvert, and I'm constantly pushing myself into an uncomfortable position on a daily basis, and I live by that. To constantly be uncomfortable, because that's the only way I'm going to grow. That's the only way I'm going to grow,
100%.
is being uncomfortable.
But these Thursday Zooms are, a proof and concept of that, of what happens when you start pushing yourself a little. I mean, even Zooms themselves. I've told this story, like, I used to be the guy, you know, past a year ago, where I'd never turn my camera on. I wouldn't come off mute, be that fly on the wall,
Yeah.
until I started recording my Zooms. And I ended up getting an email at the beginning of this year that I was on 487 Zooms in 2024. Now, mind
Jesus.
you, the years before that, I wasn't on anywhere near that, like under 100.
Right.
But I was on 487 Zooms in 2024. I spoke 34% of the time of the total time. And mind you, like, a lot of these Zooms are an hour and a half long,
Right.
some 2 hours long. And I hosted 86% of them.
Mm, that's some killer numbers, actually. They give you give you that specifics of it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That
But
is crazy. That's good to
you're
know,
talking
though.
about, this is like just being uncomfortable, getting uncomfortable. You don't notice it while it's happening.
Yeah.
But when you're able to take a look back, like, again, I would never turn my camera on, wouldn't come off mute, to almost 500 Zooms at, over 80, almost 90% of them hosted just by me. And, the amount of talk time. And the first couple Zooms that I did for, for systems, to me, a little awkward. I was very tactical. It was like, boom, in and out. Half an hour, I was done talking. And
Right.
like, I look at myself like, other people stretch it out to like an hour, hour and a half easy. Like, how do they do that? But once you get, again, you push yourself to be uncomfortable, you'd be amazed at what starts happening. You don't even
100%.
notice it.
100%. Yeah, I just learned to have conversations. That's all. Because even in wholesaling, when I was initially wholesaling cold calling, I was trying to read from a script, and that's what I was effing, like really effing up. Like, like I literally was going down the list trying to read the script, talk to the seller, and I was like an idiot.
Scroll back up.
Like, wait a minute, like, like the seller answered one of the questions, but I'm like, the next me question, I'm in my head, like, that's number seven, sir. Like, I'm not there yet. Wait till I get there, kind of thing. And I realized more so I need to treat script at that time as a guide and just have conversations. Because
Yeah.
every seller is different. Every seller, you don't know if they're going to be upset. You don't know what emotional state they're going to be in. You just never know what happened that same day. It's just so many different things within the mind they may project onto you that you have to understand that it's not nothing against you personally. You just got to accept the fact of they may be going through something. They may be going through something, and I had to learn it the hard way. My first call I ever had, man, actually, you know about this, and I got cursed out. I was a horrible communicator in 2020. I got called out about you don't know what the F you're talking about. Call me back when you get some more sales communication. I've been in the industry over 40 years, and I froze up. And I don't know why I froze up, but I did hang up the phone because I'm like, I'm ready to curse this guy out. Like, like you don't know what the F you talking about. But that was back in 2020, right? And just the fact of at that time when I was transitioning into more so the business mindset, I realized my name is everything. And
Yeah.
it would do me no justice trying to curse him out and say you're wrong at all. And I won't ever forget Mr. Bill Wiggins. What Bill Wiggins, he's actually in Rochester, New York. He was actually an older gentleman. He has been in the industry for quite a long at the time. I think he was maybe 50s, 60s. And once you're stuck in that age, it's harder to kind of shift them over to what you're really looking for. They have the number in their mind. They have emotional attachment to the property. But long story short, I hung up that call, and I that killed my whole mood for the rest of the day. I remember I literally had about 23 people I had to call today. I mean, that specific day, and I left that. I did not call anyone else. My day was done. I just got cursed out. I'm ready to curse this man back out. Like, you're not about to have the last word kind of conversation. Like, and it messed up my entire mood. The next day,
Yeah.
I called him back. I called him back. He didn't answer. So I was pissed. I was pissed. Then 2 weeks went by. I tried again. He answered. And I didn't have no script. I'm like, Chris, just be yourself. I started the conversation. I said he picked up, and now mind you, it's one of those kind of conversations you don't want the seller to pick up, but you did your job for the day. Like, got like, oh, I tried to call this person, got my KPIs in for the day, and he picked up on the last ring. I'm like, shit, this just happened. He picked up. He said hello, and I I froze up for a second again. I'm like, okay, wait, Chris, get your thoughts together. Just be yourself. And I say, hey, Mr. Wiggins, this is Chris. Do you remember me? He's like, oh yeah, I remember you. What do you want? I'm like, okay. I'm like, hey, I want you to calm your ass down. Like, but I didn't say that to him. I just said, hey, I just wanted to touch base again. I truly apologize. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I'm glad you actually told me what I needed to hear. I am a newer investor. You were my first cold call, and from what you stated in the last conversation, it appears that you do have a lot of experience. And I would love to sit down and meet you for coffee. He accepted. I'm like, damn, okay. This is something right here. He accepted. We actually let in Rochester, New York, we have a Tim Hortons. It's like another version of Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, but it's Tim Hortons. And surprisingly, he actually schooled me on real estate world. And have we ever did any deals together? No. But the knowledge, him calling me out, I need it. I need those kind of people in my space to say, hey, Chris, the way you just communicated that is not acceptable. Or hey, Chris, I think you should have said it this way versus that way. Those are the kind of people I want in my space, and those are people I really admire. Uh, Even at the last event I just had in Vegas, I had an event in Vegas that sold out and a mastermind, and I went back to the recording. I was not happy at all. I was not happy at all. I was not, I'm probably being too hard on myself. However, I sent it over to someone who I trust and say, hey, let me know what your thoughts about it. He chewed me apart. Mike Diaz chewed me apart. And that's what I need. I can't get upset at that. I need that. A lot of people, when you're speaking, they utilize their hands and they talk a different way. Sometimes you gotta understand like what kind of mic you're using when you're talking on stages. And mind you, I was talking for about 2.5 hours on stage and walking around, and I had a mic, not an actual microphone, but an earpiece, like one of those things that hook around. And tonality is everything. Some of the points I was trying to hit didn't connect. In my mind, when I was talking, I thought it connect because I just stated it. However, tonality is key. Like, do you go up when you're talking to someone about the specific topic, or do you go down, or do you back it up a little bit? Do you pause here? How many ums are you using in a conversation? Are you using the word literally? Like, it's all these different components that I know for a fact when I'm on stage. If I'm going to be treated with respect, I can't utilize those words. Now, if you're having a normal conversation or with somebody, that's fine. But when you're in a space where you're speaking to 50 to 60 people with authority and you're trying to purvey something, you have to understand that you have to communicate in a way where everyone may not understand what you're saying. So you have to get them to understand exactly what you're trying to either get them to buy if you're trying to sell something and or trying to just prove a point. So Mike Diaz and Mike Diaz, I love him to death. We actually in a course together in public speaking, and he's actually a phenomenal individual. I'm not for sure. He's actually a wholesaler. He's doing 6 figures a month. He's perfect example. And guess how old he is? I'm 33 years old. Wait, no, I'm old as
Oh,
shit.
you're older
I'm
than me.
34.
What are you
Wait,
talking?
I just don't have to remember. It's not a birthday. I'm like, I'm old as shit. But he just turned 23 years old. 23. And he's literally one of my closest friends. His mindset, you would never think. Like if you have a phone call conversation, you would never think you're talking to a 23, I mean 23 or 24-year-old at all. You would never think that. And all he loves the wholesale. That's all he does. He loves it. He got an entire operation, he got VAs, he's got teams, he got people that's local to him, and he got it nailed down. So he's an individual I trust. I'm like, okay, I sent it over to him, say, hey, I need you to pick this apart. As he should. He told me exactly what I needed to hear. If you ever send something to someone and I say, Hey, Andres, just to let you know, I just did this video or I just had this podcast. Can you pick it apart? And then like 5 minutes later, you said, "Oh, it was great, bro."
Yeah, no.
Like, really? I just, okay, well, thank you. But little things like that. I like honest feedback. Now, if it's great, it's great. If it's not, it's not. But I know there's always opportunity to fix whatever it looks like. I constantly go back and always review all the videos. I hate's a strong word. I dislike the sound of my voice. I really dislike, like, and I think that's everyone, right? Uh, and I learned to just it was my son came out the room, said, "Dad, what are you doing?" Because I literally had the my voice intentionally playing just to make sure I just knock it out. Like, okay, I'm just gonna let it play for like a half an hour. I'm going to get used to this. I have no other choice because I can't get rid of my voice. So let me just play something, have it in loop as I'm like hearing myself, so I can get used to it. That's the only way I can be able to understand myself, and then also like just different hand movements. It's a lot of things that go into it, and the reason I'm sharing this because I just want to share the personal side. I mean, I'm not a robot. I'm learning as well on a daily basis. I'm definitely trying to grow myself on a daily basis. I know what I need to work on. I know what needs to happen. So, when things come up that I'm not aware of, I'm okay accepting feedback. And I think everyone should be okay accepting feedback from now. I just want to preface, don't make sure you're receiving the right feedback from the right people. Just want to throw that out there. Just don't throw it at anyone.
Yeah. No, it's important to have that. Even most people think that it has to be a business partner or it has to be somebody that's within your business. You can go external when it comes to that. Uh, dude,
100%.
for a
I'm so
while,
glad you
man,
said that. So glad you
dude, I
said
was Creighton, good example of that. I was sending him recordings of the videos or calls that I was doing consistent, like, hey man, can you give me feedback? And he's like, well, what do you just want to know that you did good? Like, no, like I
that.
actually want feedback and I want to see how I can get better. Like,
Yeah, no,
but I mean,
so glad you mentioned that, man, because let's be I just said got me thinking I just said right there. Angel Miller is a perfect example. If you're talking to someone on a daily basis, they get used to it.
yeah,
They get used to it. They understand what you meant, right? And when you understand that, like Mike Diaz is someone who we communicate, we can like if I call right now, I know he'll answer the phone. We're very close. At the same time, we're not communicating every single day. I think I probably texted him like 3 days ago and say, hey, I hope you have an amazing day, kind of thing. Let me know if you need anything. Little things like that. But when it comes to someone who trying to understand you're trying to improve something, not saying Angel not don't understand I'm trying to improve. He's actually doing the course with me. He knows what some of the things I'm working on. And it's okay to have more than one accountability partner, guys. I just want to throw that out there.
yep,
It's super healthy to have more than one accountability partner. When it comes to Mike Diaz, he is a person I know for a fact. When it comes to communication, anything with tonality, sales, and all that stuff, I know I need to go to him. He knows exactly what I need to be watching out for. He knows my not so-called triggers, but we can use triggers for the lack of better words today in regards to the words I know for a fact that bothers me. And the three main words is literally, and I think I probably said about 3 times today, to be honest. I hate saying that word. And I don't know why, but to be honest, I feel like I discredit myself. I don't know why. But those are trigger words for me. Like, why do you have to say to be honest when if it's honest, if it's something that really happened, why do you have to say that? So, he did those are my top three. I can go down a long list of words I just want to delete from my vocabulary. And yeah, we'd probably be on here for the next 3 hours. Like, okay, this word, this word, this word. So it's always great to expand your vocabulary as well. But I
yeah,
know there's at least 7 or 8 of them I just want to delete.
yeah. Dude, it's always bad. Like, almost everybody I know says that. It's like I want to stop saying. And it's funny because it's people that are used to speaking to a crowd
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, I talk to people all day long. But as soon as I don't know what the psychology is behind it, but as soon as you're in a, like you said earlier, as soon as you're in an authoritative position, it's almost like it comes out. It's subconscious and it lies there until
Yeah,
you consciously work on that.
yeah. It was cringy to hear myself in some of these videos. I'm like, oh my God, definitely that was horrible. It just
Oh,
give you
yeah.
a piece of advice, guys. Just when you do think you're about to say that, just pause. Just pause. Don't. That's what I do. I just pause. Because even when I want to try to say it, I'm like, oh, literally, nope, Chris, just pause. Just shut the
You
hell
just said
up. And
literally.
like, right,
Okay.
just shut up. So no, that's some little things like just the techniques I'm working on and other things I can just go down a list. And I know looking at my first video that I ever did on like a podcast versus now, I'm like, oh my God, I want to delete every last one of them. Like every last one of them. Like, Jesus, who is that guy? Uh,
Oh
but
man, mine is, does
now,
anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions so far? I I don't know why, but even like you said, going back and watching that first video when I did the A2P video, like that was the one thing that stood out to me. I must have asked like 12 times throughout it, like, anybody have any questions? I'm like, James, of course they don't. Like, you're sharing screen, you created, like, you have visuals going with it, you're explaining it in detail, in depth. Of course they're not going to have questions. Stop asking.
yeah, it's phenomenal. It's something that you know I think everyone the communication is everything. Communication is
Oh,
definitely
100%.
everything. Uh, I'm definitely thankful and blessed to and even fortunate enough to even buy different courses and also different mentorships related to like self sales and all that good stuff. And I'm happy. I'm very happy where I know I see improvement. I see improvement, and I just know that I can do better. I know I can do better. I'm never gonna
it
start going.
it's important, and I don't think, personally, I don't feel like people talk about that enough, or bring that up enough, or even think about it enough. Of like, you hear a lot of the times, like I'll hear people all the time, like, oh, I got into that program, or I've been in that program for like a year, and I'm just trying to figure it out, and I don't want to do any other programs because I'm in this one. And I'm like, okay, what are you trying to get out of that one? Are you getting what you're trying to get out of it?
Yeah.
You already got it. Okay, so you know what that one's for, but now you need this. Like, it's perfectly fine to have multiple. I mean, I've sunk money into Tony Robbins. I've sunk money into John Maxwell, Sub Two. We've had quite a few different things that we've ended up sinking money into and learning now. Books, what have you. It's constant. You can never have enough. In my opinion, you can never have enough coaches and enough mentors, because from each one that you have, you're going to pull little pieces and you're going to build yourself from that. Next thing you know, you're going to look at yourself 10 years from now and realize that you are made up of, not just Chris, but Chris is made up of, you know, uh, Cody, Pace,
Yep.
Maxwell, Dan Martell, um, Tony Robbins, all of them. It's just, they all, you can never have enough, in my opinion. You just don't stop learning, don't stop
Absolutely.
pushing yourself. And one of the things that you started talking about with even having somebody to throw your videos to, because they understand what you're trying to do, and that you had mentioned that he he excels in the sales process and the speaking and all of that. And what you're doing is putting together what I like to call, well, Maxwell calls it, and I kind of adopted it from him, is that leadership table. And you had said, like, hey, it's okay to have more than one accountability partner, more than one person to keep you accountable. And I think, in my humble opinion, that's very important to actually start building that now, because where everybody is and where they want to be, you have to figure out, what type of leader you are. I ended up doing a Zoom on this a couple weeks ago, where I went through the different types of leaders. I put a post in the group, but I would recommend figuring out where you sit on that scale and then go find other leaders that are those other types of leaders and start to form that table and get around those people and learn from them, teach them. Uh, it's one of the best ways to keep yourself accountable, but also keep other people accountable. Because now not only are you bringing value to yourself, but it's a tremendous way to bring value to those other people, especially higher level people.
Oh, 100%, 100%. So I'm actually getting yelled at right now, and that's why I'm I'm that
You're good.
ignorant. I didn't realize it's almost 9 o'clock, and we had a meeting at 8:30, and she's
Oh,
oh
should I
not gonna
expect to get
not,
yelled at?
not gonna repeat what she said, but but it was in a nice way though. But I do have to jump off. I do have to jump off. However, I'm going to put my number in the side chat, James, if you're okay with that.
Yeah,
And guys, if you have any questions, concerns, anything, just feel free to reach out.
yeah.
That is my
Maybe we can set up a part two sometime.
there we go. We can do that as well. I love that. I love that. If you have any questions, guys, and that's the burner, so it's only active for 24 hours. I'm just playing. No, but I appreciate you everyone's time and thank you again, Jay-Z, for having me. Much
Oh
appreciated.
man, I appreciate your time as well, brother. Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for the tremendous value too.
Absolutely. You guys have a great one.